Rain poured from the dark sky in Chicago. The streets were wet, and cold wind blew around the tall buildings. People rushed by with umbrellas and warm coats. But in front of a small bakery, someone stood still. She was a young African woman, maybe in her late 20s. Her clothes were old and dirty. Her hair was tied back, and her hands were shaking from the cold. She didn't beg or speak. She just stood there, looking at the food behind the glass. Her name was Zara. She was homeless, with no family and no place to go. Many people passed by her without even looking. No one cared. But that night, a black SUV stopped near the bakery. Inside the car sat a man with tired eyes. His name was Obinna Adeyemi, a Nigerian-American millionaire who once had everything but now felt like he had nothing. 6 months ago, Obinna was heartbroken. The woman he loved, Clarissa Monroe, had left him. She said she loved him, but the moment he lost his money, she disappeared. Now she was getting married to Obinna's old business rival, Malik Stone, a rich and proud man from Atlanta, Georgia. Obinna had made his money back. He was even richer than before. But inside, he still felt empty. He was angry. He was sad. And he didn't want to go to Clarissa's wedding alone. As he sat in the car watching the rain, he saw Zara. She didn't look up. Her eyes stayed on the bread in the bakery window. Obinna stepped out of his car and walked toward her. His shoes splashed in the puddles. He asked if she was okay, but she didn't speak at first. Then, she looked at him. Her eyes were tired, but calm. She didn't seem afraid. Obinna offered her food. She followed him into the bakery, and they sat inside the car with warm snacks and hot tea. Zara didn't eat like someone who hadn't eaten in days. She ate slowly, carefully, as if she was thinking about something else. Obinna watched her. There was something strange about her. Not bad strange, but different. She was calm, even while sitting in a stranger's car. Her voice was soft, but the way she spoke made him feel small. She didn't ask for anything. She didn't beg for help. But the way she looked at him made Obinna feel like she already knew everything about him. He told her his story. He didn't even know why. Maybe he just needed someone to listen. And she listened. Quietly. No judgment. No pity. Then, something inside Obinna changed. He didn't want to go to that wedding alone. He didn't want to walk into that room full of fake smiles and lies with a forced grin. So he looked at Zara. And he asked her a question. The kind of question you don't just ask a stranger. The kind of question that doesn't make sense in the real world. Would she come with him? Would she come to a wedding in Atlanta? Zara sat quietly for a few seconds. Then, she turned her head slowly and looked him in the eyes. Her lips moved gently. She didn't ask what she would wear. She didn't ask why he picked her. She didn't even ask about the bride. Instead, she said something that made Obinna's heart beat faster. She asked if it was a wedding or a war zone. The next morning, the sky was still gray, but the rain had stopped. Obinna and Zara began their journey. His black SUV moved smoothly across the long highways, leaving behind the cold streets of Chicago. They drove through Louisville, Kentucky, passing old brick buildings, silent farms, and quiet hills. Inside the car, it was quiet too. Zara looked out the window most of the time. But now and then, she spoke. Slowly. Softly. Her words came like pieces of a puzzle. She had once been a university student in Nigeria. She had dreams, big ones. She loved books and music. She had friends and a family who believed in her. But then something terrible happened. Someone she trusted had hurt her. She ran away. She thought she would find safety, but instead, she found more danger. She was promised a better life in America. A job. A fresh start. But when she arrived, everything changed. She was treated like a thing. Like she didn't matter. She was locked away, used, and forgotten. She escaped. But the streets were not easy. And soon, she became just another shadow in the city. Obinna listened. He didn't ask for more. He didn't try to fix anything. He just drove, and let her speak when she wanted to. By the time they reached Nashville, Tennessee, they were both tired. They stopped at a small thrift store near the edge of town. The store was old and quiet, filled with old clothes and forgotten things. Zara walked in slowly. Her eyes scanned the racks. She didn't touch anything fancy. No shiny dresses or bright colors. Instead, she found a plain, vintage dress. Soft brown, with tiny flowers near the collar. It looked like something from another time, but when she held it up, it fit her like it was made just for her. Obinna offered to pay, but the store clerk didn't even look at him. She was an old woman with kind eyes and a wrinkled face. She looked straight at Zara. She said the dress was waiting for her. Then she said something strange. She said Zara would break chains with it. No one understood what that meant. Back on the road, they drove through the hills of Tennessee, heading toward Atlanta, Georgia. The tall buildings came into view as the sun began to set. The city lights blinked to life. Cars honked, people laughed, music played in the air. They checked into a fancy hotel in Buckhead, Atlanta. The room was large, with tall windows and soft lights. Obinna stood by the window for a long time. He looked at the city below, but his mind was not with the lights. It was full of questions. Why was he doing this? Was it just to get back at Clarissa? To make her jealous? Or was it something else? He looked at Zara. She sat on the bed, calm, folding the dress gently and placing it beside her. He wanted to ask what she thought of all this. But he didn't need to. She already knew what he was thinking. She told him that she was not there for revenge. She was there for something deeper. She said she came for revelation. Obinna didn't speak. He only nodded. But inside him, something shifted. This wasn't just about a wedding anymore. Something bigger was coming. The next day, the sun was bright over Midtown Atlanta. The city was alive with laughter, music, and cameras. Inside one of the most expensive hotels in the city, everything sparkled. Gold curtains. White roses. Shining glass. Guests wore their finest clothes, and waiters walked around with trays of drinks. It was a wedding day. A famous one. Clarissa Monroe was finally marrying Malik Stone. The two richest names in the city. Everyone was watching. Cameras flashed. A big cake stood in the corner. The bride stood in white, her face glowing. The groom stood proud, his smile sharp. Then the room went quiet. People turned their heads. Whispers filled the air. At the entrance stood Obinna Adeyemi. And beside him was a woman no one had seen before. She was dressed in a simple brown vintage dress. Her hair was tied neatly. Her face was soft but strong. She didn't wear makeup or jewelry. Yet somehow, she looked more powerful than everyone else in the room. She was not just a guest. She was a presence. She was Zara. Obinna didn't say a word. He walked in with calm steps. Zara walked beside him, her eyes steady. Clarissa's mouth fell open. She stared at Zara, then at Obinna. Malik leaned toward her. He whispered something, and then laughed under his breath. He called Zara trash. But Zara didn't flinch. She didn't blink. She just kept walking until they sat near the front row. The music played again. The ceremony began. The priest spoke. People smiled. The bride held her flowers. The groom held her hand. Just before the vows, there was a moment of silence. That was when Zara stood up. No one stopped her. No one could. She walked slowly to the front. The priest looked confused. The guests gasped. Obinna stood still. Zara faced the bride. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't shake. She spoke clearly. She said the groom had a child with a homeless girl he left behind in Texas. The room froze. All eyes turned to Malik. His smile dropped. His hands shook. Zara continued. She said the child was very sick. The boy was in the hospital, fighting for his life. There was no anger in her voice. Just truth. Then the silence broke. Gasps. Shouts. Phones were raised. Cameras clicked. People whispered and yelled. Clarissa's eyes filled with tears. She turned away. She dropped her flowers. And she ran out of the room. The wedding had stopped. But the story had just begun. The room was full of noise now. Some people stood. Some sat frozen. Others whispered behind their hands. Zara didn't move fast. She reached into her small handbag and pulled out a tiny envelope. She walked up to the minister. Calm. Silent. Steady. She gave him the envelope. He opened it slowly. Inside were papers. Not just any papers. DNA results. Photos. Hospital documents. Real proof. Proof that Malik was the father. Proof that he had left a young homeless girl in Texas with a baby. Proof that the baby was now fighting for his life. The minister read the papers. His hands trembled. He didn't speak. But his face said everything. Obinna stepped forward. His eyes were wide. He looked at the papers, then at Zara. He was shocked. He had no idea. He had brought her to this wedding without knowing the storm she carried inside her. Across the room, Malik's lawyer pushed through the crowd. He grabbed his phone and rushed out of the hall. The guests started leaving too. Some shaking their heads. Some filming everything. The wedding was broken. Nothing would ever be the same. Zara turned to Obinna. She looked into his eyes. She didn't raise her voice. She just said that she didn't come for the bride or the groom. She came to return a truth. Then she walked out. No rush. No fear. Just peace. Outside, the city was quiet again. The wind moved through the streets. Cars passed slowly. Zara walked alone. Obinna followed her. He called her name. She stopped. He asked her who she really was. She didn't turn right away. Then she did. And she smiled. A soft, sad smile. She said she was someone who got lost, but remembered who she was. The moment Obinna showed her kindness. Then she turned again and disappeared into the crowd. The sky was turning gold as the sun began to set. Zara walked slowly down the hotel driveway. The wind pulled at her dress. People passed by, but no one noticed her. She looked like just another stranger in the city. But Obinna saw her. He ran after her, his heart racing. "Zara, wait!" He shouted. "Don't go. Come back with me. Let me help you." Zara stopped. She didn't speak at first. Then she turned around. Her eyes were calm. Her face soft. She looked at him, and her voice was quiet, but full of power. She said, "Next time you see someone with nothing, remember, they might be carrying everything you need to heal." Then she turned away again. She walked into the crowd and was gone. Obinna stood there, frozen. People moved around him, but he didn't move. He just stood there, looking, searching. But he never saw her again. Did Zara disappear forever, or is there more to her story? What do you think, she truly was just a stranger, or something more? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We're reading every one. Like this story? Smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on your bell for more mind-blowing African folktales in American cities. Our next story might just leave you speechless again.